Hello and welcome to the All Rookie Podcast. Today is January 27th, 2023, and I'm your host, William Harris, aka William is Bill. Great to be back with you today on another great episode of the All Rookie Podcast. Today, I'm going into my second edition of Who is ... And today, I'm going to be covering Jalen Williams, the 6'6 guard slash forward for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Last episode was Andrew Nembhard for the Pacers. Today, Jalen Williams. If you enjoy this, I'm going to keep going through this class, player by player. Next up will be Jeremy Sohan. But today, Jalen Williams, not to be confused with his teammate, Jalen Williams, name just spelled differently, who was also drafted in this same draft class as him, just 22 spots later. Jalen Williams from Santa Clara, he averaged 10 points through his first 2 years in college at Santa Clara, so he had a normal first 2 years in college. No one thought he would be a lottery pick at that time, but his junior season is where everything really came together for him. That year, he averaged 18 points, 4.5 boards, and 4 assists. And he flew up everyone's draft boards as the draft process went along. He solidified himself as a lottery pick after his performance in the combine, and it's been all trending up from there. I always had him as a first rounder, but to start the draft process, I had him more like 28th going to the Warriors. But by draft day, I ended up having him mocked going 15th to the Hornets. He, of course, surpassed that and ended up being drafted 12th by the OKC Thunder. And, right now he's 21 years old. He'll be 22 in April. For the OKC Thunder, he is averaging 12 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, and a half a block per game. And that should continue to increase because he's playing better and better as the season goes along. And his minutes are only going to increase as well. He's showing that he is a really, really, really bright spot for this team. Two of his biggest games have happened recently. One was against the Bulls, where he scored 22 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, and had 2 steals in a win. And on January 25th, just the other day, he scored 24 points, 5 boards, 4 steals against the Hawks. He also had a 27-point game earlier in the season. But speaking of that Hawks game, he really showcased everything that he could do. It reminds me of Nembhard and his game against the Warriors. This might have been Jalen's breakout game against the Hawks. He really shined. He showed some tremendous defensive plays and even clamped up Trae Young multiple times, turning defense into offense. And that's not something you see, especially with Trae. He has the ball handling. He can get to the paint and do whatever he wants. But Jalen Williams was right there with him, picked his pocket a couple times, blocked his shot a couple times. Like we said, he had 4 steals in that game. That is incredible. The NBA, of course, he has some ups and downs. In between those 2 great games, he had a dud of a game. But, the NBA is hard, especially for rookies, except for Paolo Banchero, of course. But Jalen has been very efficient, shooting 51% from the field, averaging under 2 turnovers per game as well. That's great. He's been a great defender and an all-around positive for OKC. Really a bright spot. He's that rare shooting guard / small forward that's really good at assist. And especially when he has it going, he could get double-digit assists in a game. You don't really see that from a shooting guard. So that's something that he is shining in. He's he could play point forward if you want him to. But they're covered in that point guard area with Giddey and Shea, even Trey Mann. They got a couple of guys off the bench too. Can't even think of the young guy's name, Isaiah. Well, anyway, but he's at 29% from 3, so that we hope that will increase a little bit. I think it should. He's more of a 36 to 38% shooter. He's 74% from the free throw line. Both those categories should be easy for him to improve in. He was a really good 3-point shooter in college, almost at 40%, which was last year for him. Now, this OKC team has been plagued with injuries, and they're going to want to continue to give Jalen Williams all the playing time that he can handle. He's already making big-time game-winning plays for OKC, and that might not sound like much to you, but this OKC team is actually winning this year. They're not a tanking team, even though Chet went down before the season even started. Jeremiah Robinson Earl is out now. Shea's been in and out of the lineup. He's mostly been there, but he's still been hurt a little bit. Guys have been moving around everywhere, but they are currently one game behind the Warriors for 8th place. It's going to be hard to compete with the Warriors, but still, there's a lot of teams clamped right up in there together. They're only 4 games back in the win column from being 3rd in the West. The West is crowded. From 3rd to 13th, they're only separated by 4 games. So it's really up in the air. It can go either way. I think at worst, there'll be a play-in team. And that's partially thanks to Jalen Williams. He will continue the roller coaster games where he's great and disappears, but it will only make him that much more of a stud next year. His arrow is definitely pointing up, and he will be one of the most exciting rookies to continue to watch for the rest of the season, along with this team, OKC. And Lou Dort is actually injured right now. Another injury they're having. That's only going to open up more opportunities for Jalen Williams as well. He's really already in the first team all-rookie conversation. He's all but solidified himself there. But this second half of the season could be a look-out moment, must-have on your roster moment in fantasy. And he's just going to turn this team around. And if OKC gets to the playoffs, a lot more people are going to get to see this young man and see how great he is. Everyone's going to be like, who is this guy? We know Dort, we know Shea, we know Giddey. Jalen Williams, man, they found another stud. And with Chet coming back next year, who needs to tank? OKC, I'm sure their plan was to tank when Chet went down. But Jalen Williams, Shea, obviously should be first team all-star starter. He's not, but he's right there. This team it's just incredible, really. It's an incredible turnaround. Everyone was tired of OKC tanking, and they're getting their wish because they nailed the draft. Even though they picked Jalen Williams 12th instead of 10th, where they took Ousmane Dieng. Dieng is going to continue to develop mainly in the G League, but Jalen Williams, they hit on that one. So it's going to be a great watch. Keep your eye out on Jalen Williams if you hadn't heard of him. Now you have. And make sure it's Jalen Williams. I love the other Jalen Williams, Jaylin Williams, who's a power forward, but he has not put it together yet this year. Look for the future for him. But the shooting guard / small forward from Santa Clara, Jalen Williams, a name to remember. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the All Rookie Podcast. Please subscribe and like all that good stuff, and I'll be back with more content next time. I'm out of here. Peace.